Okay, well, welcome to Property and Paper Live. My name is Dawn Rickaba. I'm so happy to be here with you. This is where we talk about anything owner financing and notes having to do with creative real estate. This is a great place to learn if you're a seller of a property or a business and you've been asked to carry paper. Someone's asked you, a buyer's asked you for seller financing and you're not sure what to do. So that's one of the type of people that I really love to work with. Also investors. And, once we understand the dance between property and paper, we can just we have an unfair advantage as real estate investors. There's just no two ways about it. And so if you never been here before, please go over to notequeen.com and sign up. And you can get invites to this monthly call that we do where you can get free answers to your questions, any scenarios that you are concerning your mind with. And I'd really love to have you join me there. In case you don't know, there's a podcast, there's a YouTube channel, and as well, I have paid consulting services. If you can't take the time to wait for the free call every month and you just want help with your own deal, go ahead and check those out. It's very reasonable for a discovery session. I just want to work with as many people as I can, and got a work in progress with a sort of group coaching, or basically making everyone who wants to be a deal maker. So I've got about another month, I think, before I can launch the next iteration of the group coaching, the Citizens of the Realm. So keep an eye out for that. Who else is coming that I haven't seen? Ken, awesome to see you. Great. Hey, Denny, great to see you. Great to see you. Mark G, Dave Peterson, Brad May, Mitchell. Anyway, so great to have you here. So as promised, and please, Axel, will you do the housekeeping thing before I just launch into my spiel?
Sure, no problem. If it's noisy in the background, just try to keep your mic muted, but you're welcome to collaborate with Dawn if you have a question. Chatting is also a good option because I can look at those and field those questions over to her, if she's in a thought.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Well, so what I wanted to share is just what's one thing that's going on for me that maybe will be beneficial for you. This is let's see, this has probably been at least 7 years ago, where I bought an owner carry note against a property in Orange, Texas. I think it was a real estate broker, but he was also an investor, and he, got someone in, took probably a 5 to 10% down payment, not as big as it probably would have been nice to have. But anyway, I got a good deal buying the note on the secondary. I probably paid, I don't know, 65 cents, 70 cents on the dollar for the note. And it made sense for me at the time. And she went along, and then with no problems. And then there was that big hurricane. I don't remember what year it was, but she really got blasted down there in southern Texas. And so there was a lot of trouble at that time. And then she got back on track. We got her back paying again. And then she went in the hospital and then had complications from diabetes. So one thing led to another. And she, it's one of those things where, she pays most of the time. And then, what I was sharing with you in one of the previous calls is like, I'm looking at just going over my portfolio and going, okay, anything that's kind of weak, I want to resolve, right? And so I look at this portfolio or this note with her, and I'll be darned if she wasn't almost a year behind. I'd go, oh shoot, how did that happen? Now, this was something that was just in my portfolio in the back of my mind. I didn't have any investors with me on this. And I just, it was on the back burner. It wasn't the front thing on my mind. So I go, okay, we got to do something about this. But I didn't start legal work and I tried calling her and she wouldn't call me back, right? So I couldn't get any information of like what's going on lately. But I noticed, and so this is serviced through August REI, which is a licensed loan servicer in Texas. And she would send in, this was last October, November, she sent in a demand for payoff. So I go, great, she's going to fix this on her own. She's either refinancing or selling the property and I'm going to get paid off. I don't have to worry about this. And then it goes along, and it's December, and then it's January. And then at the beginning of February, she submits another demand for payoff. And I go, okay, that's great. But then I noticed she was asking for it to be good through the end of March. It was like a 45-day thing. And I'm like, I just have to try to call this lady and see what's going on. Is she selling? What's the story? And so finally she answered my phone call. And I said, hey, just tell me what's going on. It just seems like, you're getting ready to move on and things are going to get cleaned up and cleared up for everybody. And she goes, well, yeah, I'm going to sell it. And I said, well, and I had done a little bit of work. So I looked online just enough to know the basic ballpark, subject to the condition of the property, what the house was worth. And it looked like about 130 at least. And right now I'm only owed about $41,000. So I said, so you're selling it then? Have you got it listed? I didn't see it on the MLS. Well, she says, well, there was this guy and I knew I needed to pay you off, Miss Dawn, because I just can't do it anymore. I know I'm behind and taxes are getting behind and I'm just stressed out and I just want to get this resolved. And so this guy sent me a postcard in the mail, says we buy houses, and I go, great. And so she took that offer and I go, well, what did he offer you? Well, 65,000. And I said, and he needs 45 days to close. I mean, if you're an investor and you got that under contract, you closed yesterday. So obviously this is a wholesaler. And I said, and then so 65,000 less back taxes, less what she owes me. And she might've ended up with, let's call it 5 or 10,000. Okay. Something like that. And I said, if you are happy with 5 or 10,000, I'll give you that right now. And you can walk away, but I'm telling you, your property's worth about double probably. And she goes, well, I just didn't know. I didn't. And this is something for us to all remember. There's some people that she said, Dawn, I just didn't know how to sell a house. And it just floored me because it just didn't occur to me that there's people that they're in trouble and they just don't know how you sell a house. I said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. So I got real busy and I said, and I made a few phone calls and I don't know, I spent a few hours just ferreting this out. So I ended up with a guy that he turned out to be even better than I thought. So I said, he's a realtor. He also works with investors and he's as in integrity as I would have hoped. I said, look, this lady, she needs to pay me off, but she's ready to walk away from a lot of money. And so what I'd like you to do, if you would go make an appointment, give me an idea of the value and the condition of the property, and let's get her a fair shake. I'll give her time, we'll outlist it aggressively or reasonably so that I would like to be out in the next 45 to 60 days minimum. And then I won't start any legal procedures and all of that. Because that's with people like this, it was probably a miracle to her. And maybe she really wasn't up to the challenge of owning a house. Once something wrong goes, then it's one thing after another. And then pretty soon there's all this stress, right? A lot of people's like, no, I'm afraid to lose my house and I'm always behind and I'm paying late fees and I'm getting, notices and all these things. And so, gosh, I forget where I'm going sometimes. But anyway, the long and short of it is, yes, it is worth, it would have been, she could have listed it at maybe 130 to 150, somewhere in that range. But he said, look, she has tenants in there, which I didn't know. I thought she was, in my mind, she's just living there alone and like all stressed all by herself. And this whole time, I don't know how long, but she's been collecting rent and not paying me very well. So if I didn't know that right in the beginning, but I'm thinking, here's this lady that this is the only money she's ever going to come across, right? Maybe she scraped that 5% together when she first bought the property, but you know what? An extra 10, 20, or $50,000 is going to make all the difference for the rest of, her retirement, the rest of her life. She's an older lady. So I'm like, you know, so it felt really good. And she just couldn't kept thanking me. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Miss Dawn. Thank you so much. I will just do whatever you say. And I said, now don't sign anything until I approve it. And so I've been just sort of looking over this the whole time. So then instead of her walking away with, let's see, so then the nice thing is that we got this realtor is so well connected with investors that we got an investor that would pay 130, so double the other offer that she had, but he was asking for some owner financing. And so I said, well, this guy has got to put at least 65,000 down. So 50% down. And yes, I'll talk to the borrower and we'll work this out. And because I want to be paid off, I want the taxes, we got closing costs, and she needs maybe 5 to 10,000 up front. Okay. That's about how that's going to work out. Then, and the investor just said, hey, I want at least 5 years on the loan. And I said, that's fine. I'm sure, the buyer owner was just about ready to walk away with 10 grand and that's it. And now she can walk away with 5 to 10 grand and basically $600 a month for the next 5 years, plus a balloon that would give her another, I don't know, would it be 62,000 at that point? Something like that. So I talked to her and she says, yeah, that's fine. That's great. So now she's going to have income for retirement on top of, the cash she was getting ready to give away or to walk away with the original offer. So anyhow, now we're not closed yet because since we found out, since I found out after the fact that there's tenants, she had to give them 30 days notice. So we're about 2 weeks out of closing that one. And she said, and I told her, okay, now, Miss Southern, that actually is her name, Miss Southern, very sweet lady. And I said, you're going to have this nice income for retirement, but in the cases that you would rather have closer to $50,000 at closing instead of $5,000, I think you should keep the payments. I think that's a really wise thing for you to do. But in case you don't, I'd be willing to buy that note shortly after you create it so that you can have a big fat bunch of money in the bank instead of, the monthly payments. And she thought about it for a while, and that seems like what she's going to choose. So number one, I'm getting paid off in full, and I'm actually controlling and driving the transaction, making sure everything's happening right all around. And then I'm getting paid off. I'm helping this lady walk away with a lot more money than she was going to. And then I'm buying another note at a discount. Now I have a 50% down payment, right? And because it's not a super long amortization, I don't have to discount it that heavily to still give her basically $40,000 plus more than she was getting ready to walk away with. So I just wanted to share, like, okay, I bought the note and then I was going to have to foreclose. And now I just instead had her carry paper to get the price and close quickly, as is, no fix up, nothing. And then I just turn around and buy another note that's even way better than I had before. So, and that's going to basically, statistically, he's going to fix it up and sell it out, and maybe he'll be out of it in a year. Who knows? So anyway, I've baked in over that 5-year period an extra 15 to 20,000 and a decent cash flow in between. So that's what I love, when you could put on the hat of being a seller, a lender, an owner. There's just a whole lot of solutions that you can create. So are there any questions or comments? I'm not watching chats at all. I'm just going to look at the people. Drew. Next. Nice to see you. Alexi, Zach. Okay. Yeah.
Zach was asking were there any issues getting out of contract with the wholesaler, or did she not sign that? Did you catch it?
She signed it, but I told her to cancel it and they could call me if they wanted to, because you know what, if they would have got it and closed it, good for them. they scored and I would have paid off and happy. But just when I knew that they were dragging her out so long, and I didn't want to wait that long, right? And knowing that she'd be given up. So basically they must have not have had a really watertight contract, because if they would have had, it would have been trouble getting out of it. But also my realtor, who works with a lot of investors and wholesalers in that area, he's saying, no, don't worry about that. I probably know these people, and don't worry. If there's any trouble, I'll talk to them and I'll take care of it on my end as well. Okay, so I'm not saying don't make a profit, but come on, taking advantage of someone that badly, that's just a little too egregious to me, because this is going to affect her well-being for the rest of her life. Now, I don't know, maybe she's going to get $50,000 in the bank, and maybe it'll disappear and she won't manage it well, and she'll be back to her original condition. But at least I can know, hey, I gave her a shot at having a reasonable financial pad in case she can't work, with her health issues that keep recycling. So anyway, any comments? If you think I did a bad thing, tell me. I don't, you know,
Hey, Don, it's Ken.
yeah. Hey, Ken.
No, I think you did a great thing. My only question is that because you're a very honest person, did you have to confide with anyone else in her life to help her along to make sure she was not being taken advantage of? And not by you, but obviously the wholesaler was going to take advantage of her. Do you have to worry about down the road that she wasn't, maybe because of her age and because of just not knowing, you have to worry about any potential lawsuits in the future because maybe she didn't talk to anyone else in her family or anything like that?
Yeah, well, what I gather is she doesn't have a lot of support, and she was ready to be like, okay, if she's not getting any advice, if she didn't even know what you do to sell a house. Like, I know I need to sell this house, but I don't know. Oh, I got a postcard. That's literally goes, oh, I guess this must be how you sell a house. She didn't know about listing with an agent or anything like that. And so I guess that's an interesting point. I hadn't even thought of that, but honestly, everything is so transparent, and I'm working with the agents totally above board. Everything is documented. And I guess if I got accused for increasing someone's net take home by 40,000 or more, I'm willing to take that risk, that, oh, you took advantage of her. Plus I told her, in terms of, are you saying maybe her selling the note? Because I actually advised her not to, because most people, they get a big bunch of money, and if they're not used to managing it, it's gone really quickly. So I said, you really should keep the monthly income, but just in case.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I think you were very honest with her, and I'm not insinuating in anything to do with you. I'm just saying sometimes down the road when a transaction closes, she might talk to somebody who says, well, you should have done this, you should have done that. Obviously, you didn't try to take advantage of her at all. But you know how laws are and how lawsuits go.
Well, you know what? That's a good point to bring up, and it's sad that we have to think of that. But yeah, that's true. And I guess if I thought she was incapacitated mentally or something, but I don't know. Good point. Any other comments or questions about that or something else? And we can move on. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm not even, Axel, I'm going to rely on you, because if I look at chat, I get really
No worries. No worries. So we have another question from Zach. What was the interest rate on the note given by the investor?
Okay, so to get the price, to get the 130, he said, I want owner carry at 7% and a 5-year maturity date. So 7%. Otherwise, his cash price would have been, and it's still, she would have done way better anyway. Cash price probably would have been 105, 110, something like that. So an extra $20,000 to $25,000 for a 7% interest when, and I'm looking at this lady, she doesn't know how to make 7% on her money. She's sticking in the, so I thought, hey, it's worth it. And because it's a short note, right? So for me to buy it, I don't have to discount it that heavily, even at 7%, because number one, it's a super safe note, very well secured, huge cash down payment. Plus, I already know I've got trusted boots on the ground now with this agent that I began working with. So I don't have to have a huge yield, and so the discount's only like, I don't know, $15,000, maybe a little bit more. It depends. It'll be, we'll have to see. Like I said, we're not closed yet. 2 more weeks to get the tenants out and hope they don't do any damage to the property on the way out, you know, and that they actually do get out and we don't have to like stop and do an eviction or something like that. So we'll see.
Question from me, Don.
Yes.
What verification did you get that the contract with the wholesaler was canceled? Did you get any type of like written verification, or just verbally?
She told she canceled them. And the funny thing is, a week later, they came back and said, well, what if we give you 90? And she said, no. So no, I mean, should I have looked at that? But like, really, I don't know. When I'm buying property, because I like getting deals on properties and getting a fair exchange of value there. But I never, and maybe this is wrong, but I never force if anyone changes their mind, I never sue someone if they decide they've changed their mind and it's bad blood and they don't want to, I don't hold their feet to the fire. Maybe that's not really smart, but that's what I've done so far. So I don't know. I said, if they have problems, I'll have them call me and I'll talk to them. I'd be happy to talk to them. And I don't think they wanted to talk to me. So
Another question.
yeah.
Would you share your target yield on a note this secure?
Okay. Well, I still have to make money. So I think it's at a 12. It's probably in that 12 to 13. Well, because then I have to take out due diligence and other, costs that I have. So I don't know. It's still like 12. And so I can keep it, because this one I didn't have anyone investing with me. I can keep it, or I can bring in someone and who'd be happy to get 8 or 9 on this. And then I can make the spread, the arbitrage yield on that. Does that make sense? Did that answer the question?
And that would be wrapping the note.
There is no wrap, but
What you just said.
that looks like me selling off a front end partial.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah, that looks like me selling off a front end partial, and sometimes people, or it's a hypothecation where it's more like they're loaning money secured by the note that's secured by the property. There's 2 ways to do it. So it can be done both ways.
Okay.
More people, Mark G, Veronica. Who else haven't I said hello to? Robin, great to see you. Aren't you in San Antonio right now hold on, where's...
Okay, I should be, but I had some business to take care of today at noon, so that's why I'm home.
Oh, okay. So
yes.
Are you going back to Tom's event, or are you done?
No, I'm done because it wraps up this afternoon.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. It's just done today.
It was amazing.
Was it good? I'm glad you went. He reported, he said, I met your people and they're just the best. I just love the people that are in your...
Oh yeah. We threw your name out there a lot.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, thank you. And I'm so glad that you took the opportunity to go. And that was really fun. You represented me well. So thank you.
I did. I tried to. Yes. And another lady that may be on this call right now, Wynn, Hui, she may be on here.
Yes, I see her.
We were kind of like chairmates. We sat next to each other yesterday or day before. Yes. So she's one of your followers as well.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the love. I really do. Yeah. Well, thanks. Good seeing you on here.
Yeah, it changed my life. So I'm ready to learn more. I am completely confused by everything.
Well, that's great, because now you're very teachable, but you're excited and you can feel the power and as someone, there was such I don't know if she's probably not on here, but there was just this very sweet young she's 33 or something, has 2 kids. We had the best conversation just out of the blue. But she put it so well. Right now, we have the most fertile landscape for what we do here. Owner financing, notes, creative real estate, solving problems outside the box. It couldn't be more fertile of an opportunity. And this young gal she's a business broker. And so the reason she started tracking me down and found my podcast, and I guess it's good, Google and SEO does something. So one thing led to another, and she found me, and we ended up on the phone. And she sells businesses, buys and sells businesses. And most of her buyer clients, like well over half of them, are asking her to get them owner financing when they go to buy their business. And she says, I don't know anything about that. And then it's like all the owners of businesses, and only sometimes, not always, only sometimes is there real estate included in that transaction. But she says, she was just so excited because I said, and I'm excited because, oh my gosh, there's so much opportunity that is get ready to happen. But what we have to do is, because the people who own the assets, like me, are old boomer types. And the old boomer types, like, you guys think I'm crazy for talking about blockchain and Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Okay, it's weird for most boomer types just to consider seller financing unless they've been planning to carry paper as part of their retirement plan all along. So if they, out of the blue, get asked for someone to, what do you mean you don't have cash? What do you mean you can't get a bank? You want me to be the bank? So if we can bridge that gap, that educational barrier that's there is so much to be done. Whether you're a seller, buyer, property owner, property seller, property buyer, note buyer, note seller, like no matter which chair you're sitting in, you can make money in this market. And just wait. I mean, there's so many things. As far as I know, commercial real estate is not getting in a better position. Things are getting worse. You've got funds raising money to the billions of dollars, getting ready, salivating over, office spaces and malls and hotels and things that are gonna have a really hard time when, not if, the economy and the general market is much tougher. And so if we're getting ahead of it, and I guess it was a good time for me to come out of my long slumber and to get ready for me and to help anyone I can to create these solutions and make money. A lot of us that are on this call, an extra, not having to know everything, but an extra 5 or 10,000, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a year would mean a lot, even if that's as far as you go. Or if you've got a lot of money and you want to invest it and you want to know how to diversify, or I don't know. Anyway, I was just geeking out with her. And so we just had this big passion conversation. And she's like 1 year older than my oldest daughter. So she's such a cutie. Just had her second kid, which I so relate to, being a young mom, although I am not a young mother, but I have kids that should be young mothers by now, but they're not. But anyway, so, okay, what else? We're halfway through. Is there anything else that anyone wants to bring up, has questions, has a scenario? Otherwise, I'll just make up other things that are in my world.
Hey, Don, I have a scenario.
Yeah.
I'm selling a commercial building right now, and I'm doing owner carryback. I'm carrying back the paper.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's a nonprofit organization that's buying the building, and we haven't finalized anything. We're just still in negotiations at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They made an offer, and we're probably going to agree on that offer. And they want a 5-year carryback with 20% down, which is fine with me, and 6% interest, which is fine.
Right.
I could have asked more, but I'm getting a decent price, making a couple $100,000 on the building.
Yep.
And it's going to be amortized over 25 years, so that's not bad. And then no prepayment penalty. So I'm just bringing that out because I think it's a decent deal for me. I'm not going to get all my money back, obviously, at one time, but at least 6% is not too bad of a rate.
Yeah. So when you're the seller and you have all that, let's just remember that you have all that. Okay, it's only 6%, but it's 6% on 200,000 more of appreciation, right?
Correct.
So
That's
that's huge. So basically, can you give me the sales price?
the sales price is going to be $920,000.
Okay, so 920.
The down payment's going to be 20% of that.
Oops.
I would like that figure there. Yeah.
Yeah. My public math is questionable, but we'll do the best we can here. So that means you're going to have an 80% loan.
Correct.
So you're getting a nice, what'd you buy it for and when?
I bought it about a year and a half ago for 635,000.
Oh my. And then you put some money into it, clearly.
25,000.
Okay, Ken,
What?
everyone on the call wants to be you right now.
Well, I mean, this is
You-
this is just an okay deal. It's nothing spectacular,
I
but
think it's a great deal. You know, you've always been a solid and very smart guy. You work hard. You're just, you know, you're in your lane doing your thing and you do it really well. So here's present value here, 6%. You said amortized over
25 years.
25. So 25 times 12. We got a 300 there, and I'm going to leave that at 0 to just make sure. Is that your payment? 4742.
That's correct.
That's
That's
P and
correct.
I, so that's all in your pocket.
Correct.
And is it better than the rent you were netting?
No, it's not better than the rent that we were getting, but with that said, that's a good point. Number one, it's an office building, so they're not quite in demand. It needs painting. The air conditioners are old, so there's a lot of, potential capital improvements that are going to need to that building. So
Right.
we're not getting that much more rent. I think the net operating income is like maybe around $5,500 rather than the 47. So it's not huge
Well,
difference.
look you're getting almost that, and now you don't have to put any more money out of pocket. You're exiting at an excellent time before the
Right.
market explodes.
Right.
And diversifying, getting some profits off the table, and that is nice passive income. In fact, I wouldn't want to be paid off if I were you, but
Right.
unless you go, because you've probably already worked out the numbers with your accountant for capital gains and things.
Yeah, it's going to be, obviously it's an installment sale, so the capital gains are going to be a lot less because number one, it's over a year. It's not under a year. And then number two, it's going to be based over that 5-year period. So any interest that you get, you're not going to get all that money all at once, obviously that gain that you would have gotten. So it's going to be taxed at whatever interest you get over that 5-year period.
Okay, so then basically, but when you get this balloon, that's another, you're gonna, that's more of the punched the IRS. But in the meantime, yes, you get to defer some capital gains. And you put an excellent deal together here. Why did would you have carried for longer, or would?
No, I wanted to actually only carry for 3 years because of the fact that I can earn at least 10 or 12% on my money anyway with notes or whatever. So I'm just doing it because I want to get out of that area. I don't see it upcoming. And the office market, I believe, is not going to come around again for another 3 to 5 years. So I'm okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that is a great point, because Ken knows how to make more than 5 or 6% on his money. The average person does not. Okay. So if he was a regular person, he's not, he's superhuman. This would be a fantastic deal, even 5%, because you're getting your price, no hassles, hassle-free income. And most people can't make more than 4, 5, 6% on their money safely in a way that they feel safe. But because Ken is, well-versed in real estate and note investing and a lot of private lending, right, Ken? I remember from our last, right? So you do a lot of short-term private loans and at least 10%, if not more, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Right. And okay. So, but if if you weren't that person and you were a typical boomer type that just has these assets they might need to start to roll out of, I could look at this, Ken, and say, okay, basically all you have in it though is, how much is it? I forgot what you told me. What did you tell me about it for? Six something?
635.
635, and you put 25 in it. So you're only in it 660
Mm-hmm.
and you're getting 920.
Minus commissions too. There's some commissions you got to minus off of that, obviously.
Okay, how much?
40, about 45,000.
Okay, so I'm just gonna call it your round 200,000 that you said.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so basically, if you want to think of this another way, is that you don't have, this isn't not all of your money. This is out of thin air money. So you could take, it's just a different way to package up the concept to feel okay about it. You only really have this much in it.
Mm-hmm.
So your yield is actually double,
Right.
right? But since you know how to take your appreciation, and even though you're going to pay some capital gains, you know, still you'll come out ahead because of how you're positioned and what you know how to do.
Right.
Right.
Now, one thing on this here, Don, is there anything that I can do when I'm writing up or having the lawyers write up the promissory note to protect myself in any way as far as potential, what might happen if there's a foreclosure, or talk about any of those things, or if I want to potentially have the right to possibly purchase that note in the future type of thing?
Yeah. I think we talked about this before, is
Yeah.
like the only thing that you didn't do on the last deal was just ask for get the first right of refusal. Well, the thing is, except for that was when you were buying, wasn't it the same property, or am I remembering?
No, this is different property.
Okay, so when you're buying, when you're the buyer, you want the first right of refusal to buy the note, okay? So now that you're the lender though, the first right of refusal doesn't make sense because you're already the note holder. Okay, but what you're gonna want to think about is, you know, you have your standard grace periods and late fees. I would have a default rate baked in there that's the highest allowable by law in California. I would, and you not giving them a prepay is good. How are they planning to roll out of it? Do you know, this nonprofit?
I don't know, although financially they're doing very, very well. And if rates do go down maybe a little bit, maybe they'll think about going with a bank. But you know, with banks, I'm doing a refi right now. It's just not an easy process. So they're probably going to keep it for the 5 years, just like when you talk about you don't use banks anymore, and there's a reason that you don't. It's because they don't have really common sense, and they just want everything under the kitchen sink, and it's just a hassle.
Right. Yep. I have drawn a line in the sand, and I have not asked a bank for permission to close anything in well over 25 years. So everything I've done is owner financing, either acquisition and selling, or and disposition, or private money, cash, that kind of thing. So,
and also too, on this note, I'm obviously going to put in there that they're going to have to go through a servicing company.
Oh, definitely you do.
Servicing company.
No, yes.
And I'll probably put in there, whether they'll do it or not, they'll have to pay, or at least be responsible for the servicing company to collect insurance and taxes as well.
Yeah, I definitely do impounds for taxes and insurance. That just keeps your life simple, right? Because what I hate is what I showed in the beginning is like sometimes things are on the back burner and you're not paying attention sometimes to your own stuff that you should. Yeah. So impounds for taxes and insurance, and yes, the buyer can pay for the servicing fees, but yes, board that absolutely with a servicer. It's not that much. Who do you like? Who do you like to use in?
I use different companies, but I think FCI I've used, they seem to be okay. I mean,
right.
You know, they're very reasonable. At least if it's just principal and interest, it's like, you know, like $30 a month. If it's impounds, maybe it goes up to 80.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not that 80 really for impounds.
I don't know. I'm just guessing. I've never.
Okay, I don't know.
Maybe 50. I don't know.
Yeah, somewhere in that 40 to 50 is what I would expect for impounds. But anyway, now just for kicks and giggles, let me share this again. So let me go back to why don't I keep these numbers? See the public math. I just wanted to see what, for instance, what if you had to sell this note, or something happens to you and your kids inherit it and they decide to sell the note? So the first, what would you do, Ken? Or what, if you had to pretend like, something really different happened in your life that you did not expect? And so basically, right, shortly after you create the note, you have to sell it. So what would your first, what's the first thing that would come into your mind?
Well, if I had to, I mean, at this point in my life, I don't think that would be a problem and stuff.
I know.
So
I'm
I would,
asking you to be the alter Ken Bucho in the other
Yeah.
parallel universe that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 6% isn't a great interest rate in this environment. I mean, it's good, but it's not great. So I mean, you'd have to be looking at a really pretty good discount.
Okay, so who would you go to first to see?
Well, I would probably
Okay.
maybe go to a friend possibly, because the collateral is good. And at 6%, maybe they would be okay with getting maybe 9 or 10%. And when I say
Okay.
friend, I mean a friend who knows what they're doing. I just don't mean anybody.
Okay, let's, so would you say it's fair? What do you think a neutral arm's length person would pay for this note? 12% with the yield, but we're not going to even talk about investment to value. I'm just going to, this is a yield
No,
conversation.
12%, well, I think would be very, very attractive.
Okay, so 12% all day long. So let's see what you would have to give up.
Yeah.
And it just
Okay.
originated it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's pretty big discount, right? So, and what if it was 10? What would you have to give up? See? Ooh, that makes a big difference, right? Okay, so let's just say the best you could get, and let me remind myself this number, 736. Okay, let's just say you do have a friend. 736. It's willing to take this at 10%. And at this, the investment to value is good too, because 521 divided by 900, what is that, 60 cents? 60% investment value. So that's good from that underwriting as well. But so they're going to give you 521, but that's still you walking away from 215 grand. So what I would do is when I'm in the situation, the buyer that is most motivated to pay the most is the payer. They're already invested in the property. So they're the first ones I would go to say, look, because you in your mind, you already know best case scenario, this is what I'm going to give. But I would go back and you would say, hey, you owe me 630,000 right now, or 736,000. I'm going to cut you a sweet deal. If you'll pay me off now, I'll knock off 100 grand. Right?
Yeah, I might even start with 50,000.
Yeah. So you can start with less, but you already know, if you know that the next best option, and you know what that is, usually the borrower, of course they want to buy in deeper. They are already committed to the property. They would want the first, if they were smart, they would get the first right of refusal to buy this note as the buyer. You don't have to give it to them, but they should want that. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so hey, whatever the headache, maybe they have to pay a higher interest rate. Maybe the problem with commercial is if they're getting a commercial loan, that's expensive. So they might have to have a pretty good discount to make it worth that. But anyway, that's my thought. It looks like Sri can make some comments here. Hi, Sri.
Yeah, I'm just brainstorming here.
Okay, and just real quickly, Ken, thank you. We didn't really have closure on that.
That's
but
okay. Thank you, Don. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's really valuable, and you're a smart guy, and go Ken. Yeah.
So this is a property in Los Angeles area, and I have a second lien, obviously non-performing. and the UPB is about 180. The property is worth about 1.9 to 2 million, but the borrower is old and she takes care of people. One of them is 80, one of them is 50 with some medical issues, and one of them is some kind of disability. I don't know exactly. So she's current on the first, and
All right, Shri, so this is a property in LA, you said worth about 2 million, and you own the second, and how much is the first?
1.3.
And then you have a 180K second that you own, that you purchased at a
Yeah.
discount?
So yeah. So I bought it at 85,000.
Uh-huh, the 180
Um,
balance you bought for
the
85 grand, okay.
right,
Mhm.
but the payoff is like 425.
Oh. Of the arrears, okay.
But yeah, but the
Holy
thing
cow.
is, I can foreclose and kick her out, but I really don't want to do that because she's an older lady and we have spoken many times. But she cannot. She's saying the most she can pay is $250, and I mean, I can be heartless
250,
and
wait, $250 per month to service the debt?
yeah.
Oh,
So
wow,
that's not going to work. So
no.
I don't know what to do. I mean, I can foreclose and kick him out. I'm just thinking, brainstorming to come up with an idea where she can still stay in the house, or but at the same time, I'm not just waiting forever. It's been almost 6 months. I'm just being nice with her. That's what it is.
Yeah, and I
So I'm just
appreciate,
thinking, yeah.
I
I'm just
love,
thinking, is there a way to make this work?
well, let's think about this. So this is a primary residence then.
Yes, yes. I mean, it's a very big property built in 1960s. It's almost an acre.
Wow. Okay,
So it's an
let's,
there are
let's
two.
bring
I
this,
mean, yeah. Go ahead.
let's bring this back up again. So we're clear all, oops. Okay, so basically 2 million, okay, let's just say, let's take the lower number you said, 1.9 million. How do you know it's worth
Mhm.
that? Have you seen the inside? Do you really know it's worth that?
What I'm saying is, so the comps are sold at 2.3. That is the reason I gave a discount of 300,000 or 400,000 in the area of that size. Even if the property is really bad, I don't think it needs more than 300 or 400 because they did when they bought it in 2007.
Uh-huh.
I did see the inside of it, but I know it's a long time back, and I did get a sense from her what does the property look like. And she said, minor repairs, but nothing too bad. So I don't know exactly, to be totally frank. I don't know what the property looks like. I'm
Okay,
assuming since people are living there, it's still livable.
right, okay. So I'm just gonna take the lower number,
Okay.
okay? And then times, what, closing costs, what, 8%?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so the net that would happen if she sold right now for fair market value is 1.748. And my goodness, she owes between the 1.3 first and the 425 to you, that's due to you, she owes 1725000. She doesn't have, look, she doesn't
Yeah,
have
but the
any
thing is,
equity.
she does not want to move
Well, I know. Isn't that's really tough.
because she's taking care of those folks at the house. So that is the reason she does not want to move. I don't know if she'll be able to take care of all of them once she moves.
Right.
Uh,
And
the
none of
property may not be big enough.
that, yeah, she doesn't have more rooms to rent or anything like that, right?
I don't know. There might be room. I don't know if she's capable to do that.
Well, anyway, well, I appreciate, the quandary here. And my first comments are, how's she even paying the 1.3? That's, anyway,
Yeah, I verified the status of the first payment history. She never missed a payment. She did have a loan mod back in 2012,
she
but
did her,
since then she never missed a payment.
oh, so she had a loan mod. Okay, so here's to me, I always like, well, how can she increase income? So if she can rent a room, Airbnb a room, I don't know. I'm thinking that first, but like this just speaks to me of just so much stress. Okay, so now she's gotten herself in a situation where every day she's worried about losing her house. And that just eats away at a person. Okay. And really, maybe she'd get 100,000 more if she sold with a realtor. Maybe she could get 123,000 or 150. But to me, it's like she could take care of her people, but rent, right?
Right.
Or you could say, look, I have compassion. I'm doing well enough. And I'm not saying you need to, but you have room where if it made all the difference in the world and you helped her find a place she could rent that was big enough to take care of her people that she could afford, and maybe you're willing to shave off a little bit of that 425 at your discretion,
Yeah,
and
yeah. I'm willing to obviously accept less than what is owed, but at the
right,
same time, I don't want to put her on the street. To put it frankly, right? I
right.
don't want to do that, but I don't know how to come up with a solution. Um,
Well,
yeah,
sometimes,
If
that's where I am.
Don, if I may offer an exit strategy,
yes, who's
and
speaking?
Sure.
an exit strategy may be a lease with an option to buy. So in other words, you provide terms to someone, and by providing terms, you can increase the rent a little bit, or you can increase, and for sure you can increase the selling price. So I didn't hear the numbers exactly, but this may be another exit strategy in situations where
Are you talking about her selling the property, giving someone a lease option?
is it hers or is it the gentleman who's just speaking?
No, he owns the note. He owns the non-performing second. So he's trying to help the borrower not leave. But anyway, your name is what's your name?
Methodius, yeah.
Methodius. Okay, welcome to the call and thank you for
Thank you. First
your part.
time. Nice to meet everybody
Oh,
here.
yes, welcome and thank you. Really appreciate it.
And for sure, do let me know if you guys work with any big commercial notes. We represent multiple billion-dollar funds and big companies,
Mhm.
like fourth and fifth generation companies in the New York City and the tri-state area that are looking for this kind of product, especially non-performing notes. So if anybody's working with that, please take my name and feel free to befriend me on LinkedIn or some other place. And we can
Methodist, can
discuss a
you
little bit.
put your contact information in the chat? I have some that I'm working with right now.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, go ahead and connect up. That's great. And also if you wouldn't mind emailing me, Methodius, and I'll just put you in my spreadsheet.
I just sent you a friend's invitation on LinkedIn, so if you accept,
You did?
we can talk very soon.
Oh, okay, great. I only put that up 2 days ago. I realized that I canceled a lot of my I canceled a lot of my social media. Okay, I'll pay attention. Okay, appreciate that. But okay, Shri, what I'm thinking of, what comes to mind is sometimes there's just not a good answer, except it is a good answer, but it's not the one that people want, because sometimes the best thing you can do is force them to move on to a different situation. Even they might think that that's a terrible thing and it's going to crush them. But what's crushing is the weight of stress of always losing your home and not knowing that you can't afford it. And you're always this close to foreclosure. She has people take care of. You're in a position to help her make a transition that she needs to make. And so if you have to be the bad guy, if she won't just cooperate, and cooperate, you're giving her an option and you're willing to even juice it up and give her more than you would have to. Okay, technically, but if you won't cooperate, you're going to have to do what you need to do. And ultimately, I dare say a lot of times that ends up being long-term better for the person. A lot of times haven't we all had things happen that we go, oh, I hope that never happens. Then a few years later you go, well, thank goodness. In hindsight, you see how that really set you up better for success. So if you help her find a place, even if you have to do the dirty deed, it's not dirty. It's just tough sometimes, right? You've built up a
Right.
relationship. You help her find a place. You give her money to have in the bank. Maybe you even help her invest it a little bit, and you set her up to do what she needs to have a secure roof over her head, to take care of the people she's committed to taking care of, something that she can afford. And that's
Right.
sometimes there's just no way around life transitions that are difficult. And this story is not going to be less. We're going to go into more and more stories where there's difficult decisions and transitions that are going to need to be made, and we can't always rescue. Now, the story I started with, the numbers just worked out where I could come in and, look
Right.
like a big old hero, right? And it's not always that way, right? It's not always that way.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I really commend you for the thoughts. I really appreciate you in my world.
Hey,
I
Don,
really do. Yes.
just my feedback. Cherie, have you at any time considered working with a realtor? Like having a realtor make contact with her and kind of learn a little more about the property. I don't think we have enough information to make a decision.
I mean, I did bring up that topic, and she said, "Why do I want to talk to a realtor? Because I don't want to sell my property."
Right. Until she's ready to sell, you can't help her, right? Of course, and I'm sure
Yep.
if she changed her mind and she saw the light and you said, look, probably you're going to have to start the paperwork is probably what's going to have to happen.
Yeah.
For her to say, oh, it's coming down the pipeline. And then maybe you can say, look, to get top dollar listed on, look, I'll give you time. If you're going to follow through, I'll give you time to list it so you can know you're getting the highest possible price for your property.
Right.
Right? I don't know.
Right.
I'm coming up with nothing else brilliant.
Yeah. I was in the same conundrum. How can I help her? But I don't see a way out. But I got to do what I had to do. I guess.
You have to do what you have to do because you
Hey.
have people too. So we're
Dawn?
having so much fun. I always forget that it's
Dawn,
yes. Who's this?
Robin here.
Right, Robin.
Okay, real quick before he goes, there's 2 people she's taking care of. Has she done her due diligence to find out if those people could help her out of her present problem in any way, in any capacity?
I haven't. That's a good thought, but I'm just
Yeah.
thinking
I
whether
know
they
their
can actually
clients,
help, because
sort of.
one of them is 8.
They're patients or clients, but they
they-
also may have
No, they're not
resources.
patients. They're family members. They're not patients.
Family members. Okay, my bad.
Yeah. So
They're family
probably
members. So one of them is 80, one of them is 60. So
oh, right. So she feels like the responsibility, the matriarchal protector of her family members. And so I would guess that yes, she has an attachment to the home, but her highest value is probably whatever will help her be able to create stability and a roof over their head and some economic resilience for the people. And she's not in that situation right now. So you having to force the issue are actually going to help her with what I would assume is probably her highest value.
right.
Right.
Okay.
That's how I would see it. But thank you. So many great thoughts. Time goes so fast. I really appreciate and love all of you for showing up. I love this space. If there's anything we can do together, and you're hearing this on some venue, please come over and subscribe to YouTube or the podcast, or even better, sign up and become a citizen of the realm so we can stay in touch. All right. Go out there and create financial solutions, just one mom and pop to another. Take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you all.